The morning sun rose over the crystal towers of Velthora Prime, painting the sky in shades of purple and gold. Inside the royal palace, Princess Mirae stood before a massive mirror in her private chambers. Her skin, which normally glowed a soft violet color, kept flashing dark crimson. Among her people, crimson meant anger and fear mixed together. Today was supposed to be her wedding day. Mirae was 24 years old, and she had spent most of her life studying military history and combat tactics. While her sisters learned poetry and diplomacy, she read about ancient battles and warrior codes. Her father, Emperor Taiyang, had always found this strange. A princess should be graceful and political, not interested in warfare. But he let her study what she wanted, thinking it was just a phase. Now she wished she had paid more attention to politics instead. Her handmaiden Sora entered the room, carrying the wedding dress. It was made from living silk that changed colors with the light, covered in precious stones from 17 different planets. The dress was beautiful. Mirae hated looking at it. My Lady Sora said quietly. It is time to prepare. Mirae turned away from the mirror. Sora, do you remember what I found in the archives last month? Sora glanced at the door nervously. My lady, we should not speak of this. Not today. Why not? Everyone knows Prince Dayan is a snake. 3 of his political rivals died in convenient accidents. His own cousin disappeared after questioning his authority, and I found proof that he plans to kill my father after we marry. Sora set down the dress with shaking hands. You showed the Emperor. He said there was no choice. Mirae's skin flashed gold, the color of rebellion. He said the alliance with House Vorton was more important than the truth. He said sacrifice is the burden of royalty. Perhaps he is right, Sora whispered. If this marriage does not happen, House Vorton will declare war. Thousands will die. And if it does happen, a murderer becomes the next emperor. Mirae walked to the window. Outside, she could see the grand temple being decorated for the ceremony. Workers hung bioluminescent flowers that glowed in the darkness. Musicians practiced their songs. It looked like a celebration, but it felt like a funeral. Prince Dayan of House Vorton was tall and handsome, a skin that shimmered like silver. He smiled often and spoke with charm. Everyone at court loved him. Everyone except Mirae, who had seen the coldness in his eyes when he thought no one was watching. She had tried to tell her father what she'd found. Documents hidden in the old archives, messages between Dayan and his allies, plans written in careful code. But her father refused to listen. You are imagining threats that do not exist, Emperor Taiyang had said. You have been reading too many war stories. Real life is not like ancient battles, Mirae. Sometimes we must make difficult choices for the good of the Empire. But Mirae knew what she had seen, and she knew that marrying Dayan meant signing her father's death warrant. 2 hours later, she stood in the Grand Temple wearing the living silk dress. The temple was filled with nobles from across the Empire. Holographic projections allowed millions more to watch from other planets. The High Priest, an ancient Veltheron, whose skin had faded to pale white with age, stood at the altar. Prince Dayan waited there, looking perfect in his ceremonial armor. When he saw Mirae approaching, he smiled. To everyone else, it looked like a groom seeing his beautiful bride. To Mirae, it looked like a predator watching prey walk into a trap. The ceremony began. The high priest spoke the ancient words, asking the gods to bless this union. He talked about duty and honor, about alliances between great houses, about the future of the empire. Mirae barely heard him. Her heart pounded in her chest. Her skin kept shifting colors, cycling through emotions too fast to control. Some guests probably thought she was overwhelmed with joy. Only Sora, standing among the handmaidens, knew the truth. Finally, the high priest reached the end of the ceremony. If any person knows of a reason why this union should not proceed, let them speak now or hold their peace forever. It was an old formality. No one ever objected at royal weddings. The question was just part of the tradition, meaningless words spoken because they had always been spoken. Mirae took a deep breath. I object, she said clearly. The temple fell silent. 500 nobles stopped breathing at once. Even the holographic projections seemed to freeze. The high priest stared at her in shock. What did you say? Emperor Tai Yang stood from his throne, his skin flashing confused orange. Marae turned to face the crowd. Her skin blazed brilliant gold. I said I object to this marriage, and I invoke the right of champions, as is my privilege, under the old laws of Velthara. Chaos erupted. Nobles shouted. Her mother gasped. Her father's skin turned angry red. But Prince Daeon simply smiled wider. The right of champions was an ancient law. Written thousands of years ago, when the empire was young, it allowed any royal to refuse a marriage by calling for trial by combat. If the royal could find a champion to fight for their freedom, and if that champion won, the marriage would be dissolved. The law had not been used in over 300 years. Most people thought it was just history, not something that could actually be invoked. The high priest, who knew every law of Velthara by heart, slowly nodded. The princess speaks true. The old laws allow this. If she presents a champion within 3 solar cycles, trial by combat will be held. Prince Daeon stepped forward. His smile never wavered, but his eyes had gone cold. Very well, princess. You will have your 3 days. But know this, I will select my own champion. I will choose the finest warrior from the warlord clans, and when your champion falls, this marriage will proceed. Only then, I think we will understand each other much better. The threat in his words was clear to everyone. Marae met his gaze without flinching. I accept these terms. As guards escorted her from the temple, Sora caught up to her. My lady, what have you done? Where will you find a champion? The warlord clans produce the deadliest fighters in the empire. No Veltharan warrior would stand against them, not for a lost cause. Marae's skin shifted to deep blue, the color of determination. Then I will not find a Veltharan warrior. What do you mean? I have been studying warfare my entire life. Sora, I know which species are the best fighters, the most stubborn. The ones who refuse to quit, even when they should. Marae looked up at the stars beginning to appear in the evening sky. I am going to Earth. I am going to find a human. The shuttle touched down at a private spaceport outside Seoul Megalopolis just after midnight Earth time. Princess Mirae stepped out wearing simple gray clothes and a hood that covered most of her face. She had used cosmetic dampeners to hide the natural glow of her crystalline skin. To anyone watching, she looked like just another alien visitor to Earth. Soa followed close behind, carrying a small bag with their few belongings. My lady, are you certain about this? Earth is so far from home, and humans are still considered a young species by the galactic community. They have only been traveling between stars for 200 years. Marae walked toward the terminal building. That is exactly why I am here. Young species fight differently. They have not forgotten what it means to struggle. She had done her research during the journey to Earth. Humans had a reputation in the galaxy. They were clever, stubborn, and surprisingly effective in combat despite their physical limitations. While other species relied on superior technology or natural advantages like extra limbs or armor, humans relied on tactics, endurance, and a refusal to accept defeat. The military archives she had studied were full of human battles. Wars fought against impossible odds. Soldiers who kept fighting even when wounded. Small units defeating much larger forces through clever planning and sheer determination. Other species found humans fascinating and slightly crazy. Marae found them exactly what she needed. She had a specific place in mind. The Tiger Valley Combat Academy was located in the mountains outside the city. It was where human soldiers learned advanced combat techniques before taking contracts across the galaxy. The academy had a reputation for producing the most effective private military, contractors in known space. It took them 2 hours to reach the academy by ground transport. The building sat on a hillside, surrounded by training grounds and obstacle courses. Even in the middle of the night, Marae could see lights in some of the windows. Warriors who trained at all hours? We will wait until morning, Mirae told Sora. They found a small hotel nearby and rented a room. Mirae could not sleep. She kept thinking about what would happen if she failed. Prince Daeon would become her husband. Her father would die. The empire would fall under the control of a murderer. Everything she cared about would be destroyed, but she also thought about what would happen if she succeeded. Could a human really defeat a warlord clan champion? The warriors from those clans were 7 feet tall with 4 arms and skin like armored plates. They trained their entire lives for combat. They were born weapons. She had to believe it was possible. She had to believe that skill and determination could overcome raw power. When the sun rose, Mireille and Sora returned to the academy. They found the main training hall, where a class was in session. Through the observation window, they watched an instructor working with a group of young recruits. The instructor was human, male, probably in his late 30s. He was not particularly tall or muscular, but he moved with perfect efficiency. No wasted motion. Every strike and block flowed naturally. He was teaching the recruits how to fight opponents who were bigger and stronger. "You will never win by matching strength," the instructor told his students. "If your enemy is stronger, faster, or better armed, do not fight their fight. Change the rules. Use the environment. Target weak points. Make them react instead of act. Combat is not about who hits harder. It is about who stops fighting last." Mireille felt her skin pulse with excitement. This human understood. After the class ended, she approached him. He was wiping sweat from his face with a towel, not paying much attention to his surroundings. "Excuse me," Mireille said. "I need to hire you." The instructor barely glanced at her. "I am not taking contracts right now. Talk to Borum in the office if you need security services." "I do not need security. I need a champion for trial by combat." That got his attention. He looked at her properly for the first time. "Trial by combat? What kind of contract is this?" "The kind where you fight a warlord clan warrior in 3 days? Possibly Drithian." The instructor stared at her for a long moment. Then he laughed, though it was not a happy sound. "You are insane. And broke, I am guessing, based on those clothes." Mireille dropped her hood and let the cosmetic dampeners fade. Her skin blazed violet, marking her as Veltheran royalty. "I am Princess Mireille of the Veltheran Empire. I am not broke, but I am desperate." The instructor's expression did not change much. He seemed unimpressed by royal titles. "My answer is still no. Find another human. There are plenty of glory seekers who would jump at this." Over the next day, Mireille tried exactly that. She visited 6 other combat instructors and private military contractors. Each one either laughed when she mentioned a Drithian opponent, quoted an impossible price, or simply refused outright. "Fighting a Drithian is suicide," one contractor told her bluntly. "They have 4 arms, natural armor, and centuries of warrior tradition. A human might get lucky against one in a battlefield situation with the right weapons and tactics. But arena combat? One-on-one? That is a death sentence." By the evening of the 2nd day, Mireille was running out of options. She returned to the Tiger Valley Academy and waited outside until the first instructor finished his evening class. His name was June. She had learned that much by asking around. He was former Republic of Korea Special Forces, highly decorated, and had worked contracts across a dozen star systems before returning to Earth to teach. "You again," June said, when he saw her waiting. "I thought I made myself clear. You're my last option," Mireille said. "Everyone else is either too greedy, too scared, or too arrogant. But you are different. I watched you train your students. You do not fight for glory. You fight to protect. You do not know me, Princess. No, you have not asked what you would get out of this. Every other human asked immediately about payment, about fame, about what they could gain. You have asked nothing." Mireille stepped closer. "So I will tell you anyway. Win, and I will give you anything within my power as a princess of Velthera. Money, land, titles, technology, anything. Lose and die, knowing you fought for something, right? Or refuse and live knowing you let tyranny win because you were afraid." June's eyes flashed with anger. "I am not afraid." "Then prove it." They stood in silence for a long moment. Finally, June spoke quietly. "Why me? Really? There are better fighters on Earth. Younger, faster, stronger. Murray chose her words carefully. I studied human military history during my journey here. I read about battles where humans were outnumbered 10 to 1 in 1. I read about soldiers who fought on despite terrible wounds. I read about warriors who never quit, even when quitting was the logical choice. She met his eyes. The other humans I spoke to saw this as a challenge to overcome. You see it as someone who needs help. That is why you. June looked away, his jaw tight. There was a mission. 5 years ago, we were supposed to extract civilians from a war zone. Things went wrong. People died who should not have died. I was too slow, too hesitant. Since then, I have been teaching others to be better than I was. You think you are not a hero? Murray said softly. But heroes are not people who never fail. They are people who keep trying after they fail. June was quiet for another long moment. Then he nodded once. I leave for assignments at dawn. If you want me, be ready in 6 hours. Thank you. Do not thank me yet, June said as he walked away. I might get you killed. Murray watched him go, her skin glowing pale blue with relief and hope. She had her champion. Now she just had to pray that human stubbornness was enough to overcome a Drithian warlord. The journey back to Velthera Prime took 2 days through hyperspace. During that time, June studied everything Murray could tell him about Drithian warriors. He watched old combat footage, read tactical reports, and learned about their physiology and fighting styles. Drithians were one of the oldest warrior species in the galaxy. They stood 7 feet tall with 4 powerful arms. Their skin was covered in thick, chitinous plates that acted like natural armor. They were faster than they looked and much stronger than any human. In recorded arena combat, Drithians had a victory rate of 94%. This team in, June said, reviewing footage of Prince Daeon's chosen champion. He has fought 17 sanctioned duels. Won all of them. Killed his opponent in 14. Murray's skin flickered nervous orange. Can you beat him? June watched the footage again. Taemin moved like a predator, all 4 arms working together in perfect coordination. His reflexes were incredible. His strength was overwhelming. In one fight, he had literally torn his opponent's arm off. Probably not, June said honestly. On paper, this is a bad matchup. He is bigger, stronger, faster, and has twice as many arms as I do. Then why did you agree to come? June looked at her. Because sometimes the paper does not matter. Sometimes the only thing that matters is who wants it more. When they arrived at Velthora Prime, Moray's family was waiting at the palace landing pad. Her father, Emperor Tai Yang, looked older than Murray remembered. Stress had faded his skin to a dull brown. Her mother stood beside him, her skin flashing worried purple. Her 2 older brothers and 1 sister watched with mixed expressions. So this is your champion, Emperor Tai Yang said, looking June up and down. A human. Murray, do you understand what you have done? Taemin is a Drithian warlord. This human will die, maybe, June said before Murray could respond. But I will make it interesting. The Emperor's skin flashed surprise yellow. He had not expected the human to speak so calmly about his own death. Prince Daeun was also present, standing off to the side with several members of House Vorton. His silver skin gleamed in the sunlight, and his smile was as charming as ever. But his eyes were cold as they studied June. Princess Murray, Daeon said smoothly, you have chosen bravely. I almost admire your spirit. It is a shame it will lead to such tragedy. We will see, Murray replied, her skin flashing defiant gold. That evening, June was given quarters in the palace guest wing. He spent most of the night continuing his research. The trial by combat would take place the next day in the Grand Arena. The rules were simple. Armed combat. Fight until someone yields or dies. No outside interference. Around midnight, there was a knock on his door. He opened it to find a young human woman standing there with an older woman, also human. I knew you could not stay out of trouble, the younger one said with a grin. Hello, brother, Hyunwoo, June said, surprised. What are you doing here? Hyunwoo was June's younger sister. She worked as a shuttle pilot, transporting goods and passengers between Earth and nearby systems. The older woman was Borum, June's former commanding officer and current business partner at the Academy. "Did you really think we would let you do this alone?" Borum said, pushing past him into the room. "We saw the news broadcasts. The entire galaxy is talking about the crazy princess who refused to marry and the crazy human who agreed to fight for her." "You should not have come," June said. "Too late. We are here." Hyunwoo set down a large equipment case. "Besides, we brought supplies." Borum called in some favors. The case contained specialized weapons and armor, all designed for human physiology. There was a kinetic rifle with armor-piercing rounds, a combat blade made from nano-forged titanium, and light tactical armor that would not slow June down. "This is military-grade equipment," June said, examining the rifle. "How did you get clearance to bring this into Velthoran space?" "I told you. I called in favors," Borum said. "Some of us still have friends in high places." They spent the next few hours making sure everything fit properly and functioned correctly. Borum had been with June during his Special Forces days. She knew how he fought, what he needed, what would give him the best chance. "You always did like impossible odds," Borum said as they worked. "This is not about odds," June replied. "It is about proving something." "Proving what?" "That humans do not quit, even when we should." Around 3 in the morning, Princess Marae came to his quarters. Borum and Hyunwoo tactfully left them alone. "You should be sleeping," June told her. "So should you." Marae's skin was cycling through colors slowly. Nervous purple, determined blue, grateful pink. "I wanted to thank you again. For doing this, you did not have to." "Yes, I did. Why?" June was silent for a moment. 5 years ago, I was leading a rescue mission. Civilians trapped in a combat zone. We were supposed to get them out safely. But I hesitated at a critical moment. I was worried about my team, about the tactical situation. By the time I made my decision, it was too late. 23 people died. Marae's skin flashed sad gray. "That was not your fault." "Maybe not. But I've thought about it every day since then. What if I had moved faster? What if I had been braver?" June looked at her. "I cannot change what happened 5 years ago. But maybe here now, I can be the person I should have been then.
Ow.
Maybe I cannot beat Taemin tomorrow. But at least this time, I will fall fighting for someone who deserves saving." Marae stepped closer. Her skin had settled into soft pink. "We are alike. You and I fighting battles we might lose because surrendering is not in our nature. Is that what this is about? Not surrendering? Partly. But also about doing what is right, even when it is hard." Marae smiled. "Thank you, June. Whatever happens tomorrow, thank you for being willing to stand with me." After she left, June lay down and tried to rest. He did not sleep much. His mind kept running through scenarios, tactics, possibilities. How do you beat an opponent who is better than you in every measurable way? You find a way to change what gets measured. The next morning dawned bright and clear. The grand arena was packed with spectators. 500,000 beings filled the seats, and millions more watched via holographic projection across the empire. This was more than just a fight. It was a spectacle, a moment of history. June stood in the preparation chamber beneath the arena. He could hear the crowd above, their voices like distant thunder. He checked his equipment one more time. The rifle was loaded and calibrated. The blade was sharp. The armor fit perfectly. Bora and Hyunwoo were there with him. "Remember your training," Borum said. "Stay mobile. Make him come to you. Tire him out. And do not die," Hyunwoo added. "I will be really annoyed if you die." June almost smiled. "I will try not to." An attendant came to fetch him. It was time. The arena floor was covered in sand, with several stone pillars scattered across it to provide cover and tactical options. Elder Juan, the ancient keeper of laws, stood in the center. His white skin marked him as one of the oldest living Velthorans. Taemin entered from the opposite side. He was even more impressive in person than in the footage. 7 feet of pure muscle and armor, carrying 4 plasma-edged axes that glowed with lethal energy. The crowd roared when they saw him. Then June walked out. The crowd went quiet. He looked impossibly small compared to the Drithian. Some people in the audience laughed. Others just shook their heads sadly. In the royal box, Prince Dayon smiled. This will be over in minutes. But Princess Marae watched June with her skin blazing determined blue. Do not underestimate him. Elder Jiwan raised his hands. The challenge has been made. The champions stand ready. The combat will proceed until one yields or falls. May the worthy prevail. A horn sounded across the arena. The battle began. Taemin charged immediately. All 4 of his axes spun in a deadly pattern, creating a wall of plasma-edged death. The crowd gasped as the massive Drithian crossed the arena at shocking speed. June did not try to meet the charge. He dove to the side, rolling behind one of the stone pillars. The axes smashed into the pillar where he had been standing, sending chunks of rock flying. The crowd murmured with confusion. They had expected the human to fight with honor, to meet his opponent directly. Instead, he was running away, but Marae understood. He is not running, she said quietly. He is surviving. June came out from behind the pillar and fired 3 quick shots from his kinetic rifle. The rounds were aimed at Taemin's joints, the gaps in his natural armor. 2 missed. 1 hit the Drithian's lower left elbow, making that arm jerk back slightly. Taemin growled and charged again. June was already moving, using the pillars as cover, staying mobile. He fired again, aiming for the same weak points. Knee joints, elbow joints. Anywhere the armor was thinner. Most of the shots bounced off or missed completely, but a few hit, and each hit, even if it barely hurt, taught June something. He learned how fast Taemin could move, how he favored his upper left arm, how his lower right arm had an old injury that limited its range slightly. He is learning, Marae breathed, watching intently. Prince Dayon frowned. He is stalling, wasting time. But Emperor Taiyun, who had studied military tactics his entire life, saw what was really happening. No, he is doing reconnaissance. Every exchange gives him more information. Taemin was growing frustrated. This human would not stand and fight properly. He kept moving, shooting, hiding. It was dishonorable. It was cowardly. It was also working. June led Taemin around the arena, using every tactic he knew. He stayed just out of reach, fired from unexpected angles, used the environment to his advantage. The Drithian was stronger and faster, but the human was smarter and more adaptable. Then Taemin changed tactics. Instead of chasing, he waited. When June moved to get a better firing position, Taemin threw one of his axes. The weapon spun through the air faster than June expected. He tried to dodge, but the blade caught his shoulder, cutting through the light armor and biting into flesh. The rifle flew from his hands as he stumbled backward. The crowd roared. Finally, first blood. Taemin pressed his advantage, closing the distance with his 3 remaining axes. June drew his combat blade, but it looked like a toy compared to the plasma weapons bearing down on him. The next exchange was brutal. June could not match Taemin's strength, so he focused on defense and dodging. He parried when he could, rolled away when he could not. Each block sent shocks of pain through his injured shoulder. Each near miss reminded him how close he was to death. But he noticed something. Taemin was getting tired. Not much, but a little. The Drithian was used to quick victories, to opponents who fell within the first few minutes. He was not used to prey that refused to die. June waited for his opening. When Taemin swung with his upper left arm, slightly overextending, as he always did, June ducked inside his guard. The combat blade flashed out, finding the gap in the armor at Taemin's side. It was not a deep wound, but it was a wound. Drithian blood, dark blue and thick, stained the sand. The crowd gasped again. Human had actually injured a Drithian warlord. Taemin roared with rage and pain. He struck out with all 3 axes at once, a wild attack fueled by anger rather than skill. June tried to dodge, but he was too slow. Of the axes caught him across the chest, sending him flying backward into a stone pillar. June felt ribs crack on impact. He tasted blood in his mouth. His vision blurred. The world spun. The crowd thought it was over. Ambassador Kyungmi, Earth's representative to Velthira, covered her eyes. She could not watch a human die. Teeman walked toward June slowly, confidently. You fought well, human. Better than I expected. But you were finished. June used the pillar to pull himself to his feet. Blood ran down his chest from the deep gash. His left arm hung useless at his side. His rifle was somewhere in the sand, broken. He had only the combat blade. Not yet, June said, his voice rough with pain. Temin tilted his head. You can barely stand. Why continue? Yield. I will make your death quick. Because that is not what humans do. June pushed away from the pillar, standing on his own. We do not quit. Ever. Even when we should. Something in his voice made the crowd go silent. Even Temin paused. You are insane, the Drithian said. Yeah. June started walking toward him. I get that a lot. What followed was not a tactical battle. It was not clever or strategic. It was simply stubborn human refusal to accept defeat. June could not match Teeman's speed anymore, could not dodge the axes, so he did not try. He walked straight into the weapons, taking wounds that should have killed him, but using each one to get closer. He caught one axe on his already broken ribs, letting it sink in while he slashed at Temin's arm. He let another axe cut into his thigh. Using that moment to stab at the Drithian's knee joint, he traded his body for every inch of ground, every drop of enemy blood. The crowd watched in horror and awe. They had never seen anything like this. Warriors were supposed to be graceful, skilled, efficient. This human was none of those things. He was just relentless. Stay down, Temin shouted, frustrated and confused. He had wounded this small creature dozens of times. Why would it not die? No, June gasped. Blood poured from multiple wounds. His vision was fading. That is not what we do. Temin swung all three axes at once, intending to end this. But his arms were tired. His movements were slower. And June had been watching, learning, waiting for exactly this moment. June did something insane. He reached out with his offhand and caught one of the plasma axes with his bare palm, letting the blade shear through his hand completely. But it stopped the weapon for just a second. That second was enough. With his last bit of strength, June stepped inside Temin's guard. The combat blade, nanoforged titanium that could cut through almost anything, found the gap in the Drithian's armor. It sank deep into Temin's primary heart. Temin's eyes went wide with shock. He looked down at the blade buried in his chest, then at the human holding it. How? The Drithian whispered. Because I wanted it more, June said. Temin stumbled backward. He tried to raise his axes, but his arms would not respond. The mighty Drithian warlord, undefeated in 17 sanctioned combats, fell to his knees, then forward onto his face. The arena was absolutely silent. June stood over his fallen opponent, his severed hand still clutching the enemy's axe. Blood poured from wounds too numerous to count. His legs shook. His vision had narrowed to a tiny tunnel. Elder Juan's voice rang out across the silence. The champion has fallen. The human is victorious. The marriage is dissolved by right of combat. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the arena erupted. Half the crowd cheered, half rioted. Prince Dayan's face went dark with rage. Emperor Taiyang stared in disbelief. Princess Mireille did not wait for permission. She vaulted over the railing of the royal box and ran across the arena sand. Her skin blazed every color at once. June saw her coming. He tried to smile. Told you, he said. I am better when I have to be. And his legs finally gave out. He collapsed into the sand beside Teeman's body. The last thing he saw before darkness took him was Mireille's face. Her skin glowing soft pink, tears streaming down her crystalline cheeks. He had done it. Against all odds, against all logic, he had won, because that is what humans do. June woke in a room filled with soft blue light. For a moment, he did not know where he was. Then memory came flooding back. The arena Temin, the battle. He tried to sit up and found that he could. He looked down at his body, expecting to see the terrible wounds he remembered. Instead, his skin was mostly smooth. Scars remained where the deepest cuts had been, but everything had healed. Even his hand, which he clearly remembered losing, was attached and working. "You are awake," a voice said. Princess Marae sat in a chair beside his bed. Her skin was glowing soft pink, mixed with relieved blue. "The doctor said you would wake today." "How long?" June's voice was rough from disuse. 2 weeks. "You nearly died 3 times. Velthoran medical technology saved you, but your injuries were extensive. They had to regenerate your hand using human stem cell samples we acquired from Earth." June flexed his regenerated hand. It felt strange but functional. "The marriage?" "Dissolved. You won. I am free." Marae's skin brightened with joy. But that is not all that has changed. Over the next hour, she explained what had happened while he was unconscious. The victory had sent shockwaves through the Empire. A human, from a species most considered young and weak, had defeated a Drithian warlord in single combat. It forced everyone to reconsider their assumptions. More importantly, the public display of courage had inspired others. Several members of House Vorton, who had been quietly opposed to Prince Daon's cruelty but too afraid to speak, came forward with evidence of his crimes. Emboldened by Marae's defiance and June's victory, they revealed documents, testimonies, and proof of Daon's involvement in multiple murders. "He has been arrested," Marae said. "House Vorton has removed him from succession and pledged renewed loyalty to my father. The alliance holds, but without the marriage." "So it worked," June said quietly. "Better than you know. You have become famous, June, across the entire Empire. They are calling you the champion of lost causes. Some say you embody the old warrior virtues better than any modern Veltharan." June laughed, then winced. His body was healed, but still sore. "That is ridiculous. I almost died. But you did not quit. That matters to my people. We have spent so long relying on superior technology and political maneuvering that we forgot what real courage looks like. You reminded us." The door opened, and Borum walked in with Hyun-woo. "About time you woke up," Borum said with a smile. "We have been waiting to yell at you for scaring us." "Sorry," June said. "Do not be sorry. Be better." But Borum's smile was warm. "You did good, June. Really good." Over the following days, June recovered his strength. The palace doctors monitored him constantly, amazed at how quickly the human body healed once given proper support. Emperor Taiyang visited personally to thank him. "You have my gratitude, human warrior," the emperor said. His skin glowed respectful orange. "You saved my daughter from a terrible fate and exposed corruption in my own court. Name your reward." "Wealth, land. A noble title?" June had thought about this during his recovery. "I do not want wealth or titles, Your Majesty, but I do want something." "Name it. Let me train your soldiers. Your military has become too reliant on technology and overwhelming force. You need warriors who know how to fight when they are outmatched. I can teach that. Humans have been fighting from a position of weakness for our entire history." The emperor considered this carefully. "You wish to establish a training program?" "More than that. A partnership between Earth's military academies and Veltharan warrior houses. We share tactics, train together, learn from each other, make both our peoples stronger." Marae's skin flashed excited gold. "Father, he is right. This is exactly what we need. Our warriors have forgotten how to adapt. They follow ancient forms and traditional methods. Humans fight differently. They improvise. They survive. We could learn so much." Emperor Taiyang looked between his daughter and the human warrior. Finally, he nodded. "Very well. I will authorize the creation of the Veltharuth Warrior Initiative. You will lead the program with full support from the Imperial military." "Thank you." "Your Majesty." 6 months later. June stood on a balcony overlooking the new training facility that had been built on Velthara Prime. Below, he could see mixed squads of humans and Veltharans training together, learning from each other. Building something new, the program had been incredibly successful. Human tactics combined with Velthoran technology created results neither species could achieve alone. Word had spread to other worlds. Now, warrior species from across the galaxy were requesting to send students. You could have gone home, Murray said, joining him on the balcony. She visited often, sometimes to discuss program logistics, sometimes just to talk. I could have, June agreed. But someone once told me, I fight to protect. Turns out, there is a lot here worth protecting. Murray's skin flushed pink. Is that the only reason you stayed? June looked at her. Over the past 6 months, they had spent a lot of time together. What had started as gratitude had become friendship. And friendship had become something more, though neither had spoken about it directly. Maybe not the only reason, June admitted. Before Murray could respond, Borum's voice called from below. June, we have a situation. They hurried down to the command center. Hyunwoo was already there with Borum, reviewing incoming reports on holographic displays. What is it? June asked. Border conflict on Talron 7, Borum explained. 2 corporations fighting over mining rights. They have hired private armies. Civilian settlements are caught in the crossfire. Casualties mounting. The Galactic Council is demanding someone intervene, Hyunwoo added. They asked specifically for you. June studied the tactical display. It was a mess. 2 well-armed corporate forces with no regard for civilian safety. Getting the innocents out would require precise coordination and considerable risk. We need a team, June said. Mixed unit. Humans and Velthorans working together. I am coming, Murray said immediately. Everyone turned to look at her. My lady, it is too dangerous. One of her attendants protested. You are a princess. You cannot. I can and I will, Murray interrupted. Her skin blazed determined gold. I did not stop my wedding and append an empire just to sit in a palace. I am a warrior princess. It is time I acted like one. June studied her carefully. You were sure? Completely. You taught me something, June. You taught me that courage is not about being fearless. It is about doing what is right even when you are afraid. Murray met his eyes. Those people need help, so we help them. June nodded slowly. All right. Assemble a team. We leave in 4 hours. As they prepared for the mission, June reflected on how much had changed. 6 months ago, he had been a broken soldier teaching others because he did not trust himself in the field. He had thought his fighting days were over, that he would never be a hero, someone trying to make up for past failures. But Murray had seen something in him he had forgotten. She had seen the warrior who would not quit, who would fight impossible battles for people who deserved saving. And in return, he had shown her empire that real strength was not about superior weapons or ancient bloodlines. It was about courage, determination, and refusing to accept defeat. Now they were partners. Earth and Velthera working together, human and alien side by side. Building something new from the best of both their worlds. The team assembled at the landing pad. 10 warriors, 5 human, and 5 Veltheran. Each had trained in the new combined tactics. Each had proven themselves worthy. Remember your training, June told them as they boarded the ship. We are going into a hot zone. Our mission is to extract civilians, not to pick sides in a corporate war. We get in, we get the innocents out. We leave. Clear, clear. The team responded in unison as Hyunwoo piloted the ship away from Velthera Prime. June stood in the cargo bay doing final equipment checks. Murray approached him, nervous. She asked, anyone who says they are not nervous before a mission is either lying or stupid. Murray's skin rippled with soft blue. I am glad you stayed, June. Not just for the training program. For ... this. For us. You and me. This partnership. This friendship. Her skin shifted to pink. Maybe something more? June smiled. It was a real smile, free of the cynicism and pain that had marked him before.